Hola chicos, this is podcast number 3 and we are going to be talking about masculine and feminine nouns. And we're also going to touch on adjectives as well. I will be making another podcast solely for adjectives and word order, but we're just going to touch on it because it does link into masculine and feminine a little bit as well. Now, the main reason that I'm doing this is because a lot of people ask the question, why on earth does the Spanish language have masculine and feminine? See, as English people, it's a very, very foreign thing for us. We don't have masculine and feminine in English, so it's difficult for us to pick it up and start using it consciously. Unfortunately, the answer to the question is just because. It's just the way that the language is and we have to learn it, unfortunately. But the Spanish language does have a few rules to follow that make it a lot easier for us. So we're going to just go through that, and hopefully as the video goes on, if you read the help sheet that goes along with this podcast, you will sort of pick up little bits here and there, remember things, and it'll just be a lot easier for you. I do just want to note though, before we begin, that if you don't get it straight away, especially masculine and feminine, then don't worry about it, because it's not the most important part of the Spanish language, and people aren't going to not understand what you're saying if you get the gender wrong. So, saying that, we'll move on and we'll talk about the first main sort of rule, and that is the O and the A. So, if a noun ends in the letter O, it tends to be masculine. And if a noun ends in the letter A, it tends to be feminine. For example, chico, boy, chica, girl. Mi amigo, my male friend. Mi amiga, my female friend. It's very standard. It's the most basic rule for you to remember. And 90% of the time, the noun will end in either an O or an A. Now, in situations where that isn't the case, we have two acronyms to memorise that fortunately my dad and my stepmom helped me with. So I'm going to pass on their knowledge. We have the first acronym, which is DIONZA, which D-I-O-N-Z and A. So if a noun ends in the letter D, I-O-N or ion, Z or A, it tends to be feminine. For example, la nariz, which is your nose, that ends in a Z, it's la nariz. We also have la relación, which is the relationship, la relación, that is feminine. We also have la silla, the chair, that's feminine, and so on and so forth. And the next acronym is the word loners. L-O-N-E-R-S. If a word or a noun ends in any of those letters, it tends to be masculine. For example, el hotel, the hotel, el baño, the bathroom. We have el amor, or we have el Dios, which is God. El amor means love. El Dios means God. You tend to hear Spanish people say Dios mío, which is exactly the same as my God in English. So yes, we have loners and DIONZA, the two acronyms. Now, there are and will always be exceptions to these rules. Doesn't matter what language it is that you're learning, it doesn't matter what the rule is, there will be exceptions. And unfortunately, there's no specific way to remember those exceptions other than to just remember them. But as you sort of speak the language more and learn the language more, it just does become second nature to you and they just roll off the tongue. Now, like I mentioned before, don't worry if you don't get it right straight away. We're looking more for fluidity with speaking Spanish. When I teach or help somebody to learn, I focus more on the fluidity, the flow of what they're talking about, because if For example, if you're in Spain and you're talking to a Spanish person and you're just in the middle of a conversation, you don't have time to go, right, okay, manzana, it ends in an A, so de once, okay, so it's la manzana. You're not going to have time to do that. So just guess. And whichever one sounds right in your head, go for it. If you get it wrong, 9 times out of 10, the person that you're speaking to will correct it in their head. Or they'll correct you out loud as feedback. They'll be wanting to help you. When you're in Spain, as a non-Spanish speaking person, if you're trying to speak Spanish, they'll like that and they will help you. They won't just sit there and watch you struggle. The Spanish are quite good with that. If they can see that you're actually trying and putting an effort into speaking their language, they will help you. So that's pretty much it for the masculine and feminine nouns. We are now going to just ever so slightly touch on adjectives that go with the nouns. And the reason I want to touch on adjectives is because sometimes you have to change the adjective depending on the gender of the noun. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do, and that's what we're going to go through now. So there's 4 different sort of forms of adjectives in Spanish. In English, we've got singular. In Spanish, we have masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, and feminine plural. Okay? For example, the word red, rojo. Masculine single, rojo. Feminine single, roja. Masculine plural, rojos. Feminine plural, rojas. Okay? And that goes for each individual adjective. We have adjectives that end in vowels. Apart from A and E, you have to change the ending according to the gender. For example, rojo would be roja. El perro rojo, the red dog. La manzana roja. Los perros rojos, the red dogs. Las manzanas rojas, the red apples. We then have adjectives that end in A and E. For example, triste, the adjective sad. The sad boy, el niño triste. The sad girl, la niña triste. It doesn't change. And the same with the letter A. I can't think of any right now, but you can't switch from masculine to feminine if the adjective already ends in the letter A. So you just leave that. We then have adjectives that end in a consonant, except the letter N and the letter R. Adjectives that end in consonants, apart from N and R, don't change either. However, if we were to say the stubborn boy, el chico cabezón, the stubborn girl, la chica cabezona. When it ends in an N, you add an A for feminine. We also have the hard-working boy, el chico trabajador. The hard-working girl, la chica trabajadora. Once again, if it ends in an R, you change the O, you change the R, you add the A on the end, sorry. And that's pretty much it. I know I did go through that quite quickly, so I do apologise, but there will be a help sheet on this, as the rest of my podcasts will have, just with the examples written down of the masculine and feminine nouns, and some more as well, just so that you can get the hang of seeing all of the different endings. We'll also have some examples of adjectives on there. We'll have the 2 acronyms, just so it's all there in front of you, so you don't have to keep going back to this, and if you forget something, you've got it written down, you've got it right there in front of you. So that's it for masculine and feminine, that's it for the adjectives so far. Once again, we will be doing another podcast on adjectives and word order, just to go through it in a little bit more detail. But apart from that, enjoy, and remember, learn at your own pace. if you don't get it straight away, don't worry about it. You will. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next podcast.